Please rewind this cassette.
Hi, welcome to Box Office Addict, my weekly show where I break down the weekend numbers and just kind of give my thoughts on overall things going on in media and movies right now. Episode 80, we're going to be talking about Toy Story 4. There hasn't been a Box Office Addict now for, I think, a little over a month. We've been on a bit of a hiatus, but I mean, Jesus, the first 56 episodes of the show, I don't think we missed 1 week. So I guess we're gonna call this like season 2 of Box Office Addict. We're going into the second phase as I just get back into it. But because of that, all of these movies have piled up that I should have talked about over the last several weeks. I mean, I have not discussed where Avengers Endgame is at in beating Avatar. I've completely ignored Dark Phoenix, Godzilla King of the Monsters, John Wick 3, Rocket Man, Aladdin, Child's Play now's out, Men in Black International. So there's a lot to discuss, actually. There's almost too much to discuss. This is going to be a lot of catching up. And I wish I could have talked about these things when they were happening a little bit more. So let's just talk about Avengers Endgame real quick. Apparently, they're going to re-release the film with new footage in order for it to pass Avatar, which I believe it's about 37 million away from doing that. I'm a little mixed on this. I kind of wish they didn't do this. I know that Avatar was re-released like 9 months after its initial run, but I still think I would prefer. I don't know. I expect that of James Cameron. I thought Kevin Feige would be a little classier and like, hey, if you don't beat Avatar, you don't beat Avatar. You're just right there. And that, I mean, I thought it would beat Avatar. I think everybody did, but it has slowed down considerably. Um, and I guess I'm just mixed on that decision. We're going to skip these movies because they don't matter. Let's talk about Shaft. Okay, so there's the original Shaft. Then there's the Shaft movie. I believe John Singleton directed that one from 2000 with Sam Jackson. Now there's the new Shaft directed by Tim Story of Fantastic Four fame. Barbershop, the new Barbershop movie. Look at Tim Story's filmography real quick. Oh yeah, he didn't direct that one. My bad. I forget who directed that Barbershop movie. Ride Along 2, Ride Along, Think Like a Man 2, Fantastic Four, Taxi, Barbershop. Oh, the original Barbershop he directed, yes. So 8.9 million and 15.9 million so far. This is a bomb right out of the gate. It's one of Sam Jackson's worst performing movies in recent years. I just think the marketing for this was abysmal. I really don't think this was well advertised. And I don't think this was necessarily a good idea for a movie. Let's bring all these shafts together. Dark Phoenix, the lowest grossing film of the X-Men franchise. Simon Kinberg, this is a big hit for him. Because this guy was having deals with Disney. He wrote X-Men Days of Future Past, which became a huge hit critically and financially. He's been involved with some really major stuff. I mean, Simon Kinberg's had some mistakes, but he worked on the Fantastic Four debacle. He did write X-Men Apocalypse. He worked on Solo. A lot of bombs, but he's had a very successful career. And as a producer, you actually see he produced the Deadpool films. He produced Logan. He produced the new Murder on the Orient Express, which made a lot of money. Elysium. He was involved with The Martian, which was a major hit and Ridley Scott's biggest film worldwide. So if you look at that, he's actually had a pretty big success. As a director, he hasn't done anything really. Although I've heard that he worked on the reshoots for Fantastic Four. And at points, I think they also said he worked on one of the X-Men movies and shot some stuff for Matthew Vaughn did. But at the end of the day, I mean, the movie looked bad. We all heard it was bad. There was rumors for, a year that this was bad. Nobody really wanted this film this way because X-Men Apocalypse really killed the momentum of this. I mean, this is upsetting because Michael Fassbender as Magneto and James McAvoy as Charles Xavier is like amazing. And it's been great all these years, and it's so disappointing that the last two movies have really ended up this way because I love X-Men First Class and I love Days of Future Past. And I was excited about where this franchise was going to go. I mean, it's just ridiculous that Jennifer Lawrence is still in these things. Sansa Stark. Boy, she's having a bad year, isn't she? Holy shit. This is just, I don't know, this was a bad movie. That's its biggest crime. It's a bad movie. That opening weekend's horrible. They shouldn't have made this movie. Simon Kinberg, I don't think, has the chops to handle a movie like this. It was just a bunch of bad decisions, but I guess now that X-Men's going to Disney, we're gonna see what happens. This is the goodbye to X-Men at Fox. Godzilla King of the Monsters. What a disappointment this ended up being. You get the guy who directed Krampus and Trick or Treat, two movies I like quite a bit, in particular Trick or Treat. The trailers for this were amazing. Eleven's in it, Vera Farmiga, Kyle Chandler, Sally Hawkins, all sorts of people. Charles fucking Dance is in this. Tywin Lannister. More Game of Thrones stuff going on here. Anyway, this had a $170 million budget. It didn't perform nearly as well as the first Godzilla movie, which opened in 93 million, which had tons of hype, and then was a movie I think a lot of people were mixed on. I fucking hate that movie, and I've ranted about it many times. This film, on the other hand, I thought it would open a little better. I thought 60 million was possible, but 47 million is pretty bad, honestly, when you consider everything. That budget's really high. Domestically, it's only at 102 million. The first Godzilla film made 500 million. They also had Kong Skull Island, which did a lot better than this. This isn't performing as well as that, and they're supposed to be doing that Kong Godzilla crossover by Adam Wingard, who directed Death Note. Hollywood, what are you doing? What are you doing, guys? Yeah, so, I mean, there isn't much to say about this except it's a disappointment. I don't think it's an outright bomb, because I think, they're going to make over 400 million worldwide, but that domestic number compared to the first one, which had big drops, by the way, that movie only made about 200 million after its opening weekend. So, the reviews for this were disappointing. I don't think, even though I like the trailers, I think the marketing didn't give people a clear sense of a premise, and it didn't really sell people on the film. Now let's talk about a success, which is very rare right now during the summer, especially with sequels. John Wick 3. What the fuck, man? This franchise. Like, let's break down this franchise. This is impressive. This doesn't happen a lot in modern movies, with something getting more popular as it goes along like this. Because Keanu Reeves was pretty much done. He was still a movie star, but a lot of his stuff wasn't doing that well. There was stuff like 47 Ronin and The Day the Earth Stood Still. Just a lot of disasters, really. Then he makes John Wick, which is directed by a couple stunt guys who did the stunt coordination and did second unit stuff on The Matrix. And they're friends with Keanu. It comes out with John Wick, and the film gets surprisingly good reviews. And it does decent box office. 43 million domestic, 88 million worldwide. And we hear about a sequel, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. Then the movie does really well on home video. The studio says, fuck it, let's make John Wick 2. John Wick 2 gets great reviews, then opens to 30 million, makes 92 mil domestic and 171 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. Now we have a franchise. The second film, and the directors even split up. One guy goes to do Deadpool, Deadpool 2, but even before that, Atomic Blonde, and the other guy stays on. And then here you are with John Wick 3, which opens to 56 million on a $70 million budget, has currently made 156 million domestically and will make 300 million worldwide. So we go from a $20 million film that doesn't break 100 million to a sequel that makes 170 million to a third film that makes 300 million, and once again getting good reviews. John Wick has arrived. This is a major opening weekend. Keanu Reeves is back as a movie star for the first time in a long time, maybe since Constantine. This is the biggest Keanu's been in a long time. I mean, a $56 million opening weekend is no bullshit. And him being John Wick is part of the reason it's opening so well. People love Keanu again. And then when you look at him being in Toy Story 4 and how it's opening, replicas came out. But in general, I would say he's back. Yeah, I'm back. And I think this is a great success for the studio, Lionsgate, for the director, and especially for Reeves, who I've always been a fan of. Rocket Man, which I gave a very positive review from, is not performing nearly as well as Bohemian Rhapsody. Although Dexter Fletcher directed this, I thought this film would do better. I'm going to be honest. I thought this would open to 40 million and make like 120, 130 million and maybe 300 million worldwide. I'm a little shocked it only opened to 25 million. has only made about 77 million and 150 million worldwide. This film is not a bomb. It is successful, but just how big Bohemian Rhapsody is, how much better reviews this got, and the kind of movie it was, you just figure this would have made 250, $300 million worldwide. Because Elton John, it's not like he isn't one of the biggest selling artists ever. I mean, he totally is. So I don't know what happened here. They just didn't build the hype the same way, and maybe it's because Freddie Mercury's dead, and we never really Elton John's still been doing stuff all these years. I'm upset about this though. I wish Rocketman had done better. The Secret Life of Pets 2 is not doing nearly as well as the first film, which was made a lot more money, but still $117 million with an $80 million budget isn't bad. Worldwide is where this is going to make money, but this is definitely a lower grossing film for Illumination. Men in Black International, what the fuck was this? Why F. Gary Gray? You were having such a good run. You had Straight Outta Compton, you got to direct a Fast and Furious movie. This was just a bad idea. Chris Hemsworth is box office poison outside of Marvel films. It just needs to be said. Chris Hemsworth cannot sell a movie. He just doesn't have it, and I like Chris Hemsworth a lot. Making a new Men in Black film wasn't a bad idea. I think the 21 Jump Street crossover idea was good. Or even making Men in Black 4 with Will Smith possibly could have worked. But to just reboot Men in Black like this, basically remake the original film in a lot of ways. I mean, the 30 million opening weekend, that actually shows you how strong this franchise is, that it could still open like that without its, stars who sold the original movie. Because the first Men in Black is the Ghostbusters of the 90s. It's a real classic. It holds up too. But at 182 million worldwide, and this is all going to be international because domestically this is performing horribly. They could break even, but I think they would have to make 400 million or at least 350 million to do so, and I just don't see it happening. Bad idea for a movie, bad casting, bad marketing. All around, this was a horrible series of events for Sony, and this kind of has that Ghostbusters thing going for it. And I think about the Chris Hemsworth connection. I just wish Sony would kind of be like, no, don't handle franchises like this. So Aladdin ended up being a major success. It hasn't quite done Beauty and the Beast numbers, but I do think it's comparable to Jungle Book. And this also is looking very good for Lion King, which I think is easily going to make over $1 billion. And we've had some films not do as well that were live action Disney movies in recent years. Not everything was Maleficent or Beauty and the Beast. Not everything has made the money. Christopher Robin didn't do that well. But this ended up doing really well, even with mixed reviews from Guy Ritchie, now his most successful film, and Will Smith's biggest film. Soon it'll pass Independence Day to become his biggest film. Obviously, we're not adjusting ticket price inflation here. But $183 million budget, pretty expensive movie. But opened to 91 million. Audiences clearly loved it. Followed the story structure of the original film. $287 million domestically, $812 million worldwide so far, and it has more to go. An interesting note, Aladdin was the highest grossing film of the year when it came out in 92. But if you look at Will Smith here, now Suicide Squad was really successful. Oh, come on. No internet. What do you mean no fucking internet? Ugh, this is annoying. Let me refresh, guys. Don't worry. What the fuck? I must have turned my internet off. It's an upsetting day. Really? Oh my god. Why? Why? What the fuck did I do? Well, that's disappointing. And I don't know. I guess I have to go check my modem here in a minute. Anyway, um, yeah, Aladdin's doing really, really well and is a major, major hit. And the studio should be really happy. Once again, Disney, who's had a string of successes. I think they did a good job marketing this film. I actually don't think casting Will Smith was a bad idea. And overall, you knew Aladdin was going to be successful. It's one of the biggest films of the Disney Renaissance. But once again, all I see for this is setting up Lion King to be huge. Okay, and we're back. Before we left, I was going to look at Will Smith's box office in recent years. And like I said, if you see Suicide Squad did really well, but that was an ensemble film. Focus did okay. After Earth was a bomb. MIB3 did okay. Collateral Beauty, nobody really cared. Concussion was a bomb. But Aladdin worldwide is right under Independence Day now. So Will Smith's career totally isn't over yet. Although he's not really a leading man anymore. Child's Play, the remake starring Aubrey Plaza and Mark Hamill is the voice of Chucky, not doing that well. $10 million budget, $14 million opening weekend. I don't think that's a very good opening weekend, especially when you think about how well Halloween did and how horror movies have been doing in general over the last few years. I think this could have opened over $30 million. This didn't open as well as the Friday 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street remake. So I'd say it's a disappointment in general. And I think there's been too many straight-to-video Chucky movies over the last few years. And I think that kind of killed any hype of this happening because, and honestly, Child's Play is a film I think could be remade into something really interesting. And I've met actors from the original Child's Play, several of them, and talked to them about the movie. And well, my big issue with it is that I think the plot twist with Chucky should be so telegraphed before you find out that Chucky's real. But let's get to what this whole episode was about. Let's talk about the big movie, Toy Story 4. This is interesting. This is the big film of Pixar's, franchises. I mean, Toy Story kicked everything off. It changed movies forever. Toy Story 2 was huge, and then Toy Story 3, I mean, made $1 billion. But Finding Dory made over $1 billion and opened to $135 million. Incredibles 2 opened to like $175 million, I think, $180 million, and made like $600 million domestically. Let me check that. I don't want to say that without 100% knowing, but I think Incredibles 2, 182. So it made $182 million opening weekend, $608 million domestic, and $1.2 billion worldwide. It's the second highest grossing animated film behind Frozen. So I gotta say, I'm saying this is disappointing, but it has been 9 years. People really weren't waiting for Toy Story 4 like they were waiting for Incredibles 2 and Finding Dory. I think they left some money on the table here. I felt like the estimates were saying this was going to open at $200 million. A lot of people were saying 150, 140. I think Disney said 140. This really came in under. I mean, this opened the same as Spider-Man Homecoming. Someone's texting me. Don't get me wrong, this opened better than Toy Story 3, but that opened to 110 million 9 years ago, so it really didn't. So this is sort of like a weird thing. I don't know if people were just skeptical. This got great reviews, though. I mean, it's a very well-reviewed movie, but I do think people felt like the Toy Story trilogy was complete, and I do think people moved on. It wasn't really until I watched the short films that I was like, oh, I guess you could keep doing things with these characters. The foundation's there. I'm not trying to say this movie's not successful. 241 million worldwide on your opening is beautiful. I mean, this film's going to be a major success. But I do think it should have opened higher. I'm not really sure what happened. Because, let's just go through this. All right, Toy Story 2, 1999, 90 million budget, opens to 57 million. Then the original Toy Story 3, let's look at that too. Opened 110 million, 415 million, 1 billion worldwide, almost 1.1 billion on a $200 million budget. And then Toy Story, $29 million, 95. I remember seeing this as a kid, and 373 million worldwide on, I believe Toy Story cost about 30 million. But adjusted for ticket price inflation, I can't see Toy Story 4 reaching any of these numbers, even the 395 million. I still think it could make 300 million. But as of right now, I think 250 to 290 is more in line with where they're going to end up. I mean, they should reach 300 million, and it should be able to make $1 billion worldwide, but I don't know, it just seems like a little bit of a low opening, and I wonder about the word of mouth or how it's going to hold. Because when the reviews came out, I thought, okay, well, now the hype is there. Everyone's saying this is great, so this film's going to open to, I figured 180 million was my guess. I figured it would open around Incredibles 2. But I guess when it's the fourth film in a franchise that's been around since 1995, you can't complain when it opens to 118 million. This is sort of like the Mission Impossible franchise. You kind of got to go, actually, no, that's really good. Those are really good numbers. So why am I acting like it's just you have to take into context what this film seemed like it was going to perform to, and just how big the Toy Story franchise is. I'm shocked people are. I don't know. And then I think I didn't go see it opening night, even though I was really excited and I love Toy Story. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I really want to hear what people think about this. Why did Toy Story 4 not overperform? Like people thought it was going to. Then you have stuff like Dumbo, which was a bomb. Disney hasn't had the best year, and I don't think there's anything of note to really talk about. But if you listen to Box Office Addict, you're probably a box office addict yourself, and I'm not here to help you with that addiction. This isn't rehab. I encourage you to be a box office addict, so I'll see you for episode 81.
Please rewind this cassette.